road. Sometimes males will work together to hunt because it's mutually beneficial, at least for a certain amount of time. So it's not completely unheard of to have a couple of males just kicking around at the same time together.
Okay.
So actually, that'd be really handy for hunting because, I mean, if you just, like go spook some gazelles and drive them towards your bro,
Well, that's why, wolves hunt in packs. And a lot of animals hunt in packs because it's
Big
easier.
cats do it all the time.
Yeah, except for usually not two males.
No, but and so let's go ahead and talk about this because the lions that are in question here are Tsavo lions, and they're different than the lions that I think most people think of or are familiar with, which is the lions of the Serengeti. So there's some physical differences and there's some behavioral differences.
They're a lot bigger for one thing.
They are much bigger, and they also don't have manes. So a normal, the Serengeti lion has that big giant mane that's so iconic, but these lions don't, and it's not 100% understood why. There's some ideas that maybe it's because of the fact that region is hotter than the Serengeti.
Yeah, I think that probably is the reason.
Well, that's a good reason. Or there's also the idea that because the landscape in that area is very scrubby, it's scrub brush and it's very thorny scrub. So if an animal is squeezing through brush, either the mane is going to get caught or you're going to get all kinds of stuff caught in the mane.
They have a little bit of a mane.
So they do have scruff occasionally if they have a mane. I loved it. I was looking at a drawing and they show just in front of the ears. They literally call it the sideburn and the beard because it's almost never fully encompassing or going all the way around the neck like you see traditionally.
Right, but I guess these two, I was just looking at pictures. They had a little tiny,
very
little bit of mane.
Well, and that's the hard part. Though, is that if you look at the pictures of these particular lions in I can't remember what museum they're in right now, that those are the skins of those lions after they were rugs for about 20 years.
Yeah.
So they weren't in great condition when they were brought in. If you look at the photos from after they were shot, it doesn't look like there's a whole lot there then.
It looks like
but
it's
it's also not
amount.
They're old images. It's really hard to tell.
Yeah, but apparently they were skillfully restored, and now they're stuffed and look like a real thing.
They do, except they're smaller.
Yeah. That's true. It's good.
They're much smaller than they would be normally because of the fact that they were skinned to make into rugs and not to make into replicas.
Yeah, exactly.
Or mannequins or whatever you want to call it.
So
I can't think of the right word.
Yeah, they had trimmed away parts of the skins. But aren't they in Chicago?
The Field Museum in Chicago.
Oh, okay.
Illinois.
Oh, thanks for looking that up.
I knew it was Field something. I couldn't remember what it was. Let's talk a little bit more about Tsavo lions, though. There's a couple of things more to talk about here. We talked about the fact that they're larger than the Serengeti lions, and it's believed that might be that they're actually a more primitive version of the lion, because if you look at the drawings from like the Egyptians, because there was lions running around 2,000 years ago in that region, they look the same. They don't have a mane and they're very large in the illustrations. So that's one of the reasons. The other thing is that these lions are, the males especially, are notably super aggressive because they have really high levels of testosterone. So they are prone to, their automatic reaction is to attack. Just because they're always they're dudes. They're totally worked up all the time.
Okay.
That's all I got.
I know some dudes like that.
Yeah.
I'll do.
So, we'll go back to the story, though. As I said, the workers were spread over miles, and the lions started to attack, and they were attack primarily at night. They didn't show up every night. So it wasn't as if it was every single night they were there.
A half a human is a lot of meal.
I would say a human would make a couple of days good eating.
The other thing, though, is that when they showed up, they were much more likely to attack the livestock as they were the people, because you got to remember it's a camp of workers who have to have work animals or draft animals, and they've also got to feed themselves. So there's tons of livestock around. So it's whatever seemed most convenient. So
Whatever's easy picking.
Whatever was easy picking,
That
you
makes
got
sense.
Yeah, I think if I was putting up my tent, if I were one of the workers, I would like steaks, goats, and cows all around it.
it. So that they would get it and you wouldn't.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, the thing is that they did. Everybody was trying to keep the lions out. So what the coolies would do is they would build fences. They were called boma fences. And they would use the local acacia, which is a super thorny tree and bush, and they'd build fences out of that. So it's a barbed wire fence of nature at this point. And they would also light big campfires and keep those fires going all night long in the hopes that the sound and the light would keep the lions from coming in. It didn't work so well because the lions kept getting through the fences and
they were
kept
pretty
causing
smart.
havoc. Yeah, they were.
They were damn smart.
There's a really interesting account where a lion actually got into a tent where a guy was sleeping, and in the scuffle and panic, ended up grabbing the mattress, the sleeping mattress the guy had, and running away with that. And so the guy got away, and the lion got a couple of yards, realized it didn't have its prey, and dropped it and continued
I
on.
feel like that might say something bad about the state of the workers, that they were easily mistaken for a mattress.
Well, I think it's in the dark, in a tent, in the scuffle with the smells are your primary.
That's
It's
true.
a sleeping pad that you sleep on, or a mattress thing.
It's true.
You're
But it's
sweating on
not
it all
warm.
the time.
Well, maybe it is. I don't know.
gonna be
You're
warm.
right. Okay, you're right. A mattress and a human are interchangeable.
They are.
Of course, yeah.
That's why I have one sitting in my cube right now at the office. Everybody thinks I'm working diligently. Wait till they realize it's Serta. All right. So April of that year, at this point, Patterson's been there for about a month or so, and now the rail line is extended 40 miles away from the Savo. And there's only a couple hundred workers left at the camp who are building the bridge. And because this is where, the bulk of the humans have moved on and the camp is around the bridge, that's where the lions start to focus their attacks.
That's where the goodies are.
Exactly. And so Patterson, he was brought in from India where he had done a whole bunch of tiger hunting. And so he considered himself a hunter of big cats. What he would do is he would climb a tree at night and he would sit in the tree all night long, hoping that he could spot and then shoot one of the lions. Obviously, he didn't have a whole lot of luck with it. He's in a tree one night, the lions show up, they get into the hospital tent and they take somebody away. So he says, move the hospital tent. So they do. The lion goes to the new location of the hospital tent and takes somebody else away. I think it was the water boy. Takes him away. So then they do it a third time. They move the tent a third time. I'm like, why is he doing? Does he not realize that lions can smell? Why are you moving it?
Yeah, they're not stupid.
They're not stupid, but
These ones particularly.
And what he did this time when he moved the hospital tent the third time is he put up this rail car contraption that he had designed, and it had cattle in it. And the idea, I think, was that to get the lion in, shut the door so the lion couldn't get out, and then you could, shooting fish in a barrel, lions in a car, kind of the same thing for him, except it didn't work out. The lion got a cow, got the cow, got it out of the car, but then couldn't figure out how to get it through the fence and eventually took off
Poor lion.
through the fence. So I guess what happened though is that Patterson and the camp doctor, because it was near where the hospital site was, were out there at night, and the lion at that point, instead of trying to continue to drag the cow out of the fence, turned around and started stalking these two guys.
Yeah, they might be more fittable on the fence, huh?
Yeah. So obviously it's very aggressive when, hey, I've just killed something, I can't get it. I'll go kill something else.
I'm still hungry.
I'm totally still hungry. So it did eventually attempt to attack them, and this is where Patterson shot at it, and he said he managed to wound it by shooting one of its teeth, and that scared it away enough. And the whole tooth thing is supported with the actual jaw of one of the lions. There is a broken tooth. Now, whether that tooth was shot by him or broken in some other manner,
There is some contention about that.
That's in
yeah.
dispute. But
It seems weird.
It seems like a hell of a lucky shot.
Well,
It seems like it would kill the lion. You shoot him in the head, basically.
Well, not if you shoot it from the side or
and it
from,
grazes it.
or or if it goes out. Think of if it went through the cheek.
Yeah.
I suppose it could have been deflected.
Yeah, I mean, there's
yeah.
a bunch of ways that this could happen.
Yeah.
Either way, like I said, I think that mostly he was right there and he shot and scared the holy crap out of him and he took off. But that's just my opinion. So of course, okay, so we've got the whole he shot it in the mouth. The lions then take off for a while and they leave the camp for several weeks. And I'm sure Patterson was just relieved and thinking, well, yeah, I got rid of them.
Scared him off. I did it.
Yeah, unbeknownst to
That's what British accents sound like, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Perfectly,
yeah, absolutely. Unbeknownst to him, what the Lions had been doing during that couple of weeks was actually stalking some of the other construction camps that were farther away. And they do eventually return to the bridge site. This is several weeks later. One of the cats enters and drags a worker away. And and both of them show up to the body of this worker. And this is how brazen they get after a while. They only drag the body 30 feet away from 30 yards away from the camp, and then begin to have their meal. So they're obviously not intimidated by people.
Yeah, me too. I wouldn't be staying there.
No, not at all. And so this continues for months. These lions can keep coming back, and they keep making a kill and taking something, whether it be human or a four-legged critter, away as a meal. We get to the 1st of December, and at this point, most of the workers board the train and they leave. They've kind of had enough. This is not worth it, and they're gone. There's some people, yeah. There's some people left. There's some workers who are going to try and stay on. On the 9th of December, one of the lions manages to kill a donkey that's in camp. And Patterson sees this as his opportunity, and what he does is he has a bunch of guys go around behind it and then come at it making as much noise as they can to startle it, to scare it out into the open so that he can, shoot it. Well, he does manage to hit it. He does manage to wound the lion, but it gets away. But he's pretty sure that it's going to come back because it wants to get the meal, the donkey.
Yeah.
So
I would.
What does he do? He builds a platform that he can sit on and be in a perch. He waits. Lo and behold, the lion comes back. But this time, it doesn't come back for the donkey. It instead is it approaches Patterson on his perch instead of going to the donkey. Yeah.
Are we doing that thing that we do when we listen to Steve stories where we do like the grandiose storytelling of the night and then go back and like talk about stuff? So
here's the thing is that from what I can tell, the majority of the story comes from Patterson himself. So the details, the accounts of how it happened, this was something that happened a lot of guys would do, is you would be off somewhere and you'd write a bit of an adventure that had happened, you'd sell it to newspapers. And it seems that that's what Patterson was doing, and then eventually he collected those and he put those into a book that he wrote. And that's where almost all of this story is sourced from.
So,
now the lions are real, and the fact that they were killing people is real. Now
they were stalking me, and they came after me, and I shot its canine tooth off.
That's all Patterson.
Okay.
That's all Patterson.
We only have one
source of
this.
And there's no reason not to believe him. But.
No, I mean
there are some reasons. To not
there is. Okay, so let's talk about this briefly.
Yeah.
Let me finish what happens to this lion,
Yes.
and then I want to talk about something to follow up on that. What happens with this lion is that it's circling underneath him while he's in his perch, and he goes ahead and takes more shots at it. He does manage to hit it. He hits it 2 more times and manages to kill it. So he took a total of 3 bullets to put this creature down. Now, I want to talk real briefly about his writings and his book. Did either of you get a chance it's all available online to skim through any of that?
Yeah, actually I did not.
Okay, so it's not the greatest read in the world. But what's very funny is that about the first third to half of the book is dedicated to this story. And then after that, it's all his accounts of hunting big cats. So he becomes the man-eater killer. So he goes hunting after lions. He starts hunting tigers again.
So he's like a dentist's son.
Kind of like
Something like that, except that like when you get into his stories, it's I shot the beast and it leapt back up and charged back at me. Like he always describes these things as if they are just amazingly resilient and impervious to bullets. You know, the bullet went right through it, but it didn't phase it. It kept running at me.
Well, that stuff does happen, actually.
That does happen, but when you read one after the next that has the same kind of descriptions of the events, that's when I worry a little bit about it. So some of this may have, you know, I don't know how much he, I don't want to say inflated, but you embellished
it
the
up a little
story.
bit.
Bedazzled.
The dazzle factor.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, no, actually, tiger hunting especially is dangerous. I saw this incredible video. It was like a first-person shot kind of thing. Somebody was holding a camera and riding on the back of an elephant. I assume in India.
Mm-hmm.
And there's
Is that it runs up on the elephant?
Yeah, suddenly it just comes charging out of the grass, and then just like bam, he's on the elephant, come up the side of the elephant, and that's the end of it.
Yeah.
So I assume whoever was holding the camera died.
I think I remember that one, and I don't think that person died. I think that's just where the video broke.
We should just make clear, if it's not abundantly clear already, we are not advocating the hunting of game like this.
No.
It's horrible.
Well, unless if they're actually killing people, then I can sort of
sure.
see,
If it's like I have to put this animal down for safety, fine. That's a totally different thing.
And we're talking about a late 19th century event. This was commonplace at the time.
Yeah.
It was everybody believed that this was okay. There's tons of these animals. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, I just mean that as we're starting to talk about, it's really dangerous. Tiger hunting.
It is dangerous.
Tiger hunting is dangerous, so don't do it.
That story Joe's talking about, I don't think that's an actual tiger hunt. That is just somebody on the back of an elephant.
No,
it could have been that too.
And
I don't know.
I just want to make sure that everyone knows that we are not killing things.
I appreciate and I agree with you there.
No, I don't want.
Okay, so what happened to the second lion?
Okay, so at this point we've only got one lion, and a couple of nights later it comes back to camp and it attacks 2 goats. And so Patterson decides, well, you know what? I evidently it's got a taste for goats. I'm going to put a couple of more goats out. And he ties 3 goats out to a railroad tie, or at least a partial railroad tie. And if anybody's picked up a railroad tie,
they're pretty heavy.
They're friggin' heavy. Well, this lion shows up, kills one of the goats, and then drags it and the railroad tie away.
Well, presumably also the other 2 goats.
As I reread this, I'm wondering if maybe it was 3 goats tied to 3 individual railroad ties.
That would make more sense, yeah.
Probably. So they, of course, they go ahead and they, he takes shots at it because he's such a good shot. He puts like 3, 4, 5 shots at it, but he'd never managed to hit it. It was dark. It was dark. I'm being a little bit of a jerk to Patterson. It was dark at night. There wasn't a whole lot of light. But the next day, he and several workers follow the trail, and they find an off. So at this point, he goes ahead and he builds himself another platform.
Because the other one was bad?
Well, they were both hunting people in the camps.
Got it.
It wasn't like one Billy Lion always stays at camp and Timmy Lion always goes and hunts the people. They were both doing it. So he builds himself another perch. He's sitting on the perch that night, and the lion returns, and he does manage to shoot it twice. Evidently, he had a double-barrel gun, and the lion walked directly underneath his perch, and he, simply enough, pointed down and pulled both triggers and shot it.
That must have been quite a kick.
It had to have been a hell of a kick.
Well, because those guns, those big game guns in Africa, those double-barreled ones,
they're huge.
They're chambered for enormous rounds.
Yes. Yeah, so he shoots it, but he doesn't actually kill it, and it takes off.
And it's a tough little kitty.
They are. And this lion stays away for another 10 days. At this point, they're thinking, well, it must have died from its wounds, except that then on the 29th of December, it returns and it tries to pull a worker who's sleeping in a tree out of the tree. The guy manages to not be taken. So Patterson says, okay, well, it likes this tree. You go sleep somewhere else. I'm going to climb up into the tree. And it does comes back to that tree, and he manages to get another 2 shots into it, at which point it runs away again. In the morning, They follow the trail of blood, and they do find the lion. And apparently, when they got to it, I'm guessing they must have found it kind of cornered because it charged them. And he dumped so many bullets into it. He said he shot it 5 or 6 times. So he put in like...
Was he a fast reloader, or did he have people...
He had multiple guns.
Oh, okay.
He had guys who were carrying loaded weapons. Yeah.
Okay.
And so he managed to put 5 or 6 shots into it. So a total of like 9 bullets.
Maybe 10.
I just like the idea of a guy being like, yeah, you 7 people carry my guns. No, don't shoot them. Don't help me. Just hand them to me.